Alrighty. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this month's installment of the Sundog Better Your Business webinar series. This month, we are going to be talking about Microsoft Teams and some of the newer collaboration features that they have added or improved on recently. Specifically, we're going to be covering the Microsoft Teams Speaker Coach. We're going to be covering what you can use the transcription feature for note-taking. And the bulk of this month's webinar, we're going to be covering the Microsoft Whiteboard integration that you can use in your Teams meetings. Before we get started, let's run through a few intros here. So my name is Tim Tausch. I am a project manager here at Sundog, and I'm also joined by Mallory Albright. She is our marketing manager, and she is the one who makes all these webinars happen and does all of that heavy-duty lifting in the background to make sure everything works. So she is here making everything run. She is also going to be handling our Q&A section. So as I run through, if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the Q&A section. A few things about that. If you do have any questions when you do post them, please make sure to use your name and initial for your last name. That just helps for our attendance records. We will also be recording this webinar just as all the others, and it will be posted to our YouTube page after this webinar finishes up today. So let's go ahead and jump into it. So I'm going to share my screen here so that you can see what we have going on in our Microsoft Teams meeting. So give me one moment here and I will pull this up. All right. So here on my demo computer, I have got a Teams meeting window pulled up. So to get started, I'm going to first talk about the transcription feature and the Teams speaker coach. We're going to get those turned on and started at the beginning of this demo meeting that I'm going to turn on here. It's going to run through the bulk of this webinar. And then at the end, I'm going to show you the reports that those things generate at the end of the meeting. So to get started with that, we'll go ahead and I've just created a demo meeting here and I've already opened it up and I've joined myself into it. Now I'm the only one in this meeting, so you'll just be seeing my name on it, but it will function the same if you have multiple people in the meeting. Let's go ahead and open that up. So the first thing let's go ahead and take a look at is going to be the transcription feature. Now this is really simple to turn on and off. And the nice thing with the transcription feature is the reason you'd want to use this is if you want to go back and you want to have meeting notes or meeting minutes, if you need that kind of record keeping for your organization or for the project you're working on, this just automates that task and you don't have to have somebody dedicated taking notes in the meeting and focusing on making sure they write everything down. There's no potential of anyone missing it. So to turn this on, it's super simple. We'll just go up to the top toolbar here where it says more, click on that, go down to record and transcribe. Now you're going to have two options here. The first one, start recording. This will record a video and audio version of the meeting, so you'll see exactly what's on the screens and you'll also get all of the audio. The second option here that we're going to use is start transcription. So click on that. It'll ask what language we want to do. Click on confirm. And it'll just turn itself on here. And we can see on the right-hand side that transcription has been turned on for this meeting, and you can see in live time it's typing everything out. So everything you see here that it types out with the names next to it will be exportable in a Word document once the meeting concludes. So I'm just going to let this run in the background here during the whole webinar, and I'll show you what that export looks like at the end. And again, since I'm the only person in this meeting, it's just showing my name. But if there were multiple people in here, it would show each person's name next to the text that's associated to what they're saying. So that's a really neat feature for note-taking purposes. The second thing I'm going to start up right away here is going to be the Team Speaker Coach. Now what the Team Speaker Coach is a AI-driven feature that will analyze your speech in live time, and it will detect different patterns based on the different criteria it's looking for that are meant to help make you a better speaker. So it's looking for things like intonation, whether or not you're emphasizing different phrases, your sound quality. It's looking at the speed of your speech. So if you're talking too fast or if you're talking too slow, it's going to give you little warnings if you're doing one or the other. It'll also tell you good job if you're keeping right on pace. It's also going to look for filler speech. So things like and or just any of those random words we like to use a lot. It's also going to look for repetition. So to turn that on, again, we go up to the More button here. Let's go down to Language and Speech and turn on Speaker Coach. And again, we'll get the little window that pops up here that says Speaker Coach has started listening to the meeting. So let's go ahead and close those two windows. So right now, it's already starting to give me things. So it says it thinks I'm talking a little bit too fast. So I'll slow down a little bit. So let me try and trigger it here. So after the meeting concludes, it will also give us a after action recap. So we can go back and look at the report and it'll show us on a timeline where we did each of those flagged items. So I'm going to say a lot of filler words. So like, and things like that, So when we go back and look at this recap, it'll probably show a couple flags right in the spot. Again, other things it's looking for are intonations. So we can see it's saying that I need to add a little more emphasis on some keywords. So again, if I start talking really fast and I talk really fast for a long time, it's going to start saying that I'm talking too fast and it'll tell me to slow down. Adversely, if I'm talking very slowly and in a monotone, it's going to flag me for that as well. So when we look at this after action recap, there will probably be a flag at about this point for me talking too slowly. But it does like the pitch at that moment, so that's good. So you can see as you go through your meetings and you're doing these presentations, it'll give you these little feedback things. And again, to me, I really like the after meeting report it gives because you can really go back and see all of those different ones. Just because we often go through things so quickly, it doesn't show every single item in live time, just because your screen would be covered in warnings. But as a general, in the reports after, it'll show you all of those flags. So let's go ahead and let this run in the background. And let's jump into the whiteboard. That's the part of this that really has a lot of the cool stuff that I'm going to spend quite a bit of time today talking about. So what is Microsoft Whiteboard? Whiteboard is a borderless, basically drawing board that you can do pretty much anything in. It gives you the option to freehand draw. You can drop shapes in it. You can drop text. You can also drop actual documents like PDFs and Word documents. You can drop images. You can drop website links. You can do sticky notes. All of these different things that I'm going to show you here in just a minute. And the really neat thing is it's meant to be a collaboration tool. So, oh look, Teams coach says I'm still talking too fast. So all of these collaboration things you can do with the whiteboard is everyone that's in the meeting is going to see it at the same time. They see all the changes in live time, and everyone gets to work and really collaborate. So let's go ahead and pull up our whiteboard. So to do that, we're going to go up to the top corner here. We're going to click on the Share button. Click on that, and we'll go down to Microsoft Whiteboard. And that'll load up. And the first time you open it, if it's the first time you've opened the whiteboard in a particular meeting, it's going to ask you if you want to add any templates. So there's lots of different ones that you can pick from here. So depending on your category, you can either pick from the preset categories here, or you can do a search. So if I do a search for servers, or I can do IT or programming. So it'll give us different ones related to that. So here's like a program development one. So we'll keep things pretty basic here. So since I'm a project manager, I use a lot of project planning stuff. So let's go ahead and let's select one of these templates. So let's go ahead and go with the project daily stand-up template. And to use it, you just click on use this template. And you can see it's just a white box right here. So we can just drop that right in the middle of our whiteboard. So there we go. There's our template for our daily stand-up meeting. So the cool thing with this is it gives us a whole preset template to use for this particular thing, but we can also edit it and do whatever we want with it. So this one is composed mainly of 3 categories with a bunch of little sticky notes in each category. So for example, this one, like this would be what I did yesterday. So a task that I did yesterday. And over here in blockers, we'll have our problem. So I'll label that one problem. There we go. Now, again, the neat thing with this is it's just like a real whiteboard. So you're not limited by very much. So if I want to just pick up one of these problem sticky notes and drag it over here, I can drop it there or put it right over there. So for example, with this one, let's look at this blockers category. So imagine in this project, we have this problem that's causing us to come to a standstill in the project, and we want to troubleshoot this. So I can grab this sticky note and I can drag it out over to the side. And this is all happening in live time in the meeting. So everyone else in the meeting is seeing this. Now, as your meetings progress, or if you have a whiteboard that is a recurring meeting whiteboard or that is shared between multiple people over a long-term project, these whiteboards can get quite large. And because it's a limitless object, you can start adding more and more stuff. And over time, people can kind of start to get lost if there's a lot of content in there. So one thing to help keep everyone in the same place when you're all working on a specific task together is you have this follow me button up here at the top. Is what happens is when you click that, is everyone else in the meeting is going to see exactly what you see, and they're going to move around when you do. So when they're looking at the whiteboard and you're talking and you're moving back and forth, their screen is going to move back and forth along the whiteboard as well. So everyone is still looking at the same thing. Again, Teams coach here still says I'm talking too fast. So I'll slow down a little bit. Now, back to our problem sticky note here. So let's say we grabbed this problem sticky note and we pulled it over to the side. So let's go through all these different tools that we could use as we're collaborating with our team to try and review and come up with some ideas to fix this problem. So the first thing we can do is we can draw. And we got a couple different options for drawing. So we've got our standard red and black pens, markers. So we can select this and we can draw some little squiggly lines here, maybe draw an arrow at the problem. And if you click on your tool, your pen again, you'll get options for, you can get different colors. So we can switch it to yellow or red. We can change the gradient here. So if we want it kind of transparent, we can lower that. And you can increase the thickness of the line. So we can see we have a somewhat transparent red line now. You can also add arrows to your line. So you can either have arrows on a single end or you can have a double-ended arrow. So you can do that. It'll add arrows. So I like to use arrows a lot, especially when I'm making documents that are instructional for other people on how to use particular software or programs. So here at Sundog, we have a lot of arrows in our documents that we share between all of our engineers here to really point out what to click on. So here's the problem, all the arrows point at it. So that's what you can do with the pens. Again, the different ones just have some different effects on them. So this one's kind of cool. This is like a galaxy multicolor one. It's got different colors that run through it. This one here, your typical highlighter yellow. So you can pick that. Again, we can make that wide one yellow. So you can highlight that problem right there. Here's a really cool one. So when you're doing presentations and if you're presenting everything that's in your whiteboard, you'll get this laser pointer option. So if we select that, you can see I've got a laser pointer moving around on the screen, and it kind of shows a little bit of a trail there so people can kind of follow as you're moving around the screen. The other cool thing with this is you can circle things with it, and then they disappear after a few seconds. So we circle it, and then they disappear. So if you want to just call attention to something without actually drawing all over it, we circle it a bunch of times, and then they just kind of fade away. So that's pretty handy when you're trying to draw attention to something or you're doing a presentation, or maybe you're using this as a teaching tool and you're trying to teach and make sure that people are following along with you. After the laser pointer, we've got our eraser, and this is just like the classic Microsoft Paint eraser. So we get a little square there and we can erase things. Anything that we've drawn with the pens, we can erase. And you can click on that and you can erase the entire stroke or just one little spot that it's highlighted at that point. So if we'll do that, then it deletes the whole line. Pretty basic eraser. Here's a cool one, the ruler. So this will drop a ruler onto your whiteboard. And so if we click on this, I'm use the little wheel on your mouse. That's how I'm moving this right now. And so we've got that at 0 degrees. So we know that's going to be a perfectly flat level line on our whiteboard. So maybe you're doing like a math class, or you're doing some kind of engineering documents or drawings or markups, and you want to have some very precise lines. So we can make this line, and we have a ruler here. So I've got my black pen selected. And with the ruler, I'm just going to draw my line, and that's a perfectly flat line. And so then maybe I want to make a perfect 90-degree line. So we'll switch that up there, put that up to 90 degrees. Perfect. Move that ruler over here. Take our marker. There we go. And to turn off the ruler feature, you just click the icon again. So now we've got a perfect 90-degree line here. So if you're doing, again, something with engineering, or maybe you're drawing out a graph, things like that, and you need those perfect angles, you could do that. So that's also a very handy part of this. The last tool here in our pen section is going to be the lasso tool. So this one is going to allow us to select multiple items at once. So we'll click on that. Then we can draw our circle here to select everything in there. And then we can drag and drop this entire little chunk section as one item. So that's pretty handy so say you are troubleshooting this problem. So we've spent some time troubleshooting this issue. We've had a bunch of notes here, and we want to pick up this whole thing, and we want to drag it somewhere else, because maybe this corner is where we do our active brainstorming and troubleshooting. And after we find a fix for the problem, we want to then move and put it in a different corner. So for example, let's pick that up there, circle all that stuff related to that, and then we drag it up to the top corner somewhere, and we drop it up there, because that's where we put all of our resolved issues that we've already had. But we don't want to delete it, because we want to be able to look back on them later. So we can do that. That's about everything in this toolbar. Moving on from that, we've got our sticky notes. And these are pretty simple to use. You can either add them as singular sticky notes. You have this icon here, or you can add them in clusters. So we can click on this, and then we'll get a grid of them. So we can click on this one, and we'll get some nice green ones there. And so basically with the sticky notes, pretty simple. You just click on the one you want to work on, and you can put my notes and whatever you want in there. Just double click them. Notes, items, things. And again, it's all pretty freehand, so you can just drag and drop them. You can drop them wherever you want. And if you drop them in a cluster, it'll automatically kind of arrange them in this nice grid, or you can just drop a bunch of singular ones. So if we want to do that, we can go back to our singular here, and we can just drop that there, drop a red one there. And again, they can all overlap over each other. So you can add whatever you want in there. You can also change the colors and some other settings in there. So if we want to, for example, maybe one starts out as red because it's a problem, but we solved the problem. So now we can change it to green because it's no longer a problem. In addition to that, there's also an option to add a comment to the sticky note. So aside from the actual text that's in it, you can add the comment and say, maybe I found a fix. Then you post that as a comment to the sticky note. So the sticky note itself could have the problem, and we post that up there. And again, imagine if you've got multiple people in this project team looking at this over a long period of time. Maybe someone comes in tomorrow and they think they have a fix. They'll just put a comment on this problem, say, I found a fix. And then if someone else can come back and they can reply. And so you can have a little mini conversation within this comment on this one particular sticky note. So you can post that in there. And so each person, as they post it, it's going to say their name. So again, I'm the only one on this, so it's just my name repeated over, but each person, it would show who said what. So you can see that it's just going to be a continuing thread. So that's pretty cool as well. And the nice thing with that, again, using this problem and resolution demonstration. So again, we can pick up the sticky note and say we fixed the problem. We can drag it up here to our resolved issues corner that we've dedicated. And so maybe we want to come back later, maybe a month later, we have a similar problem and we're trying to think, how did I fix that? And you can come back to the sticky note with that particular problem and look at the comments on it and it says, oh yeah, that's how I fixed it. So it's just a good way of keeping track of things and seeing who said what. Moving on from the sticky notes, we have some little emoticons that we can drop on there as well. So you've got your standard check mark and X for maybe keeping track of what you did. So you can put a little check mark if you want to put those there. Double clicked too much. So again, that green check mark. There we go. So maybe that's a to do. That sticky note was a to do that I did. So I can check mark that. Or if you want some other ones, there's some fun ones in there. You got thumbs up, smiley faces, surprise, things like that. You can just drop those on there. You can also put free-floating comments. So comments don't have to be specifically tied to a particular sticky note or item or thing like that. You can get the comment bubble here, and you can just add a freestanding comment out into the white area. So you just put a comment out there, and you can just drop that out there. So maybe there's something you just want to call out and you want people to be able to see, you can put that there. You can also do text. So text in this feature currently, you don't have a lot of option as far as fonts or things like that. You do have it just has a single font right now. So we can put our text in there. You do have some options. You can choose different colors for the text, things like that. So if we highlight that all, we can change it to yellow. We can change it to bold. We can do the standard italics, underline, things like that. But it is one set font at this time, Microsoft. Maybe they'll release an update where you can choose different fonts in the future. Just like the other stuff, you can add your own comments in there. So you can put a comment on the text. So again, the comment feature is pretty handy. Again, if you got lots of people in here, in and out over a long course of time, you can put all those little comments on. Even text itself can have a comment. And pretty much every item in the whiteboard is also going to have an option for copying it. So you can copy that and then paste it. And it also does give you this grid too as well. So if you're trying to make a table, like for example, we had this preloaded template we used here. Maybe you're trying to make your own and you want all those nice straight lines and you're building your own from scratch. You can do that to make sure they're all in line with each other. And then maybe we can start dropping some of our own sticky notes in here. Make our own little table. Make sure they all line up nice and square. We also have the option for shapes. So you can drag some shapes in here. Put a square in there. You can change the color. And you can also change whether or not it has a fill. Maybe you just want a line, green line. And there we go. So there we've got that square. So that's how, if we look at this template that we imported when we started, that's how they got that nice square line there to outline that. So again, if you're trying to make your own, and if this is one that you're going to use repeatedly over a long period of time, maybe you want to make that look nice and neat. So that's how you would do that. So here's some other really cool features here. So let's go through these. So let's start with this first one here. So the templates, you aren't stuck with a single template in your whiteboard. You can have multiple templates. So say that's the first one we added. So now we want to add another one for some storyboarding. Let's pick that one. So all we have to do, go find the template we want, use this template, and then we can just drag and drop it here in the whiteboard. So now we've got all of this stuff that we can go through and fill in. And again, the cool thing is, since it's a limitless workspace, you can just keep adding more and more templates as you go, and you really don't have to worry about filling up the document. So really, really handy for long-term projects and other things like that that are going to have a lot of content. You can also add images. So there's two options for images here. You can either do image uploads from your own library on your computer, or it has this really cool Bing Images tool built in. So you can search for images from Bing that are going to be pre-formatted to be a nice fit, and they're going to have a nice resolution and look good within the whiteboard application. So for example, let's look up servers. And there's a bunch of pictures of some servers. So let's pick this one. And we'll insert that. And there we go. So we've got a nice picture of some servers. So maybe this project we're working on is for building servers, and we just kind of want to make things look good. So there we go. So now we've got a picture of servers because this project is about building servers. And as with all the other items, you'll have options to copy, duplicate, you can add comments to it, and you can bring to front, send to back. So again, so the send to back feature. So if we drop it here and we kind of want to just make it look neat, we can send that to back. So the other stuff is over the front. Now it's kind of a background. So you can get pretty creative with this. Again, you can also upload your own photos. So maybe you're doing this project and you want to upload some pictures of the work that you've done so far. You can upload those photos, and then the really cool thing is once you do that, you want to draw and edit on them. So we drop the photo, and maybe we're having a meeting and we're saying, hey, this particular hard drive bay right here, this one right here is having issues. So everyone's in the meeting, we're all looking at this picture, and then we know, yep, that's the one I'm talking about right there because I circled it. So you could draw on top of this stuff. So that's pretty cool as well. Going back to this menu here, you can also do the same thing with documents. So if you want to upload a document, you can do that, and it'll search through you can either do it directly from your local hard drive, you can do it from your Teams shares, or the local documents on your computer. You can upload that, and it will display the document on the screen, just as if it were open in front of you, and you can draw on top of it and do all that other stuff just like that. The really, really cool feature, probably one of my favorite features of the entire thing on the whiteboard, is the option to embed video. So you just click on this button here, and all you have to do is put the URL of the video you want to put in there, and it will pop up. So as long as it's from one of these supported video sharing sites, it'll work. So for example, let's go ahead and do one from Sundog. So if we do Sundog, we'll go to Sundog's YouTube channel, and we'll pause that. So that's all we need to do. Copy that. Go back to our Teams meeting here. That's my mistake. I was not on YouTube. Oh. So here's our Sundog YouTube channel. So let's go ahead and grab a video here that Carson did about some PDFs. We will copy that URL that we have, drop it in here, and as long as it's a YouTube video and it's in the right format, we can insert it. And there we go. So let's blow that up a little bit. And you can rotate it as well. Okay, so I've dropped that video in there, and the cool thing is you can play it from right inside of the whiteboard. So as you're doing this presentation or something like that, you're having your meeting and you found a video related to something you're working on, or you just want to show some people something, you can embed this into the whiteboard, and it's going to play the video inside of the whiteboard, inside of your meeting, which is really, really cool feature. And the nice thing is it's going to stay in the whiteboard. The whiteboard is going to exist outside of your meeting. So even after you close the meeting, people can come back, review this, and go, oh yeah, that thing that I wanted to look at was in this video here. They can watch it from right within. And then you can take it one step further, and you can start adding your comments to it. So we'll take our comment bubble, drop that right below there. And we can put the comments there on the video. And again, we can have that little almost mini conversation within the meeting, within the whiteboard on this one particular item that we were looking at. And everyone can comment on that. So that's a really handy feature. I think that's pretty cool that it has the ability to do that. The last little tool from this toolbar that you can do is you can do links for regular websites. So we'll click on that, and we'll do sundogit.com. And we'll insert that. And so it's going to show a snip thumbnail image of the website, and then it'll have the link in there and some other info on it, their tagline. So maybe, again, we're working on a project and there's some service we need to use from this company. We'll drop that in there next to that video. And now anyone that comes back to the whiteboard, they can just click on that link and it'll open up in their web browser, take them right to that website. And oh, look, here's a reminder to attend our really cool webinar that's happening today. So that's a pretty neat feature as well. So some other options you have to work with here within the whiteboard is going to be this timer feature. Now, pretty much every meeting is going to have some kind of time frame on it, and as you're working through issues, you want to make sure that you're not getting carried away and you're staying on schedule. So for example, let's come back to our problem post-it note. So say we have this problem we identified and we want to allow ourselves 5 minutes in this meeting to work on it. So we'll pull down our timer and we'll start the timer for 5 minutes. And again, this is all shared for everyone in the meeting. So everyone is going to be able to see it in live time. Timer's counting down as we're working. So maybe we get close to the end of the timer and we think, well, we really need just add 1 more minute. So we can add 1 more minute, continue working. When the timer runs out, everyone knows that it's time to move on to the next task in the agenda. You can pause it and you can just totally stop it as well. Other option you have is the share button up here. So again, the whiteboard exists outside of your meeting. So when the meeting's done, you can still work on the whiteboard and get to it later. So you can share this whiteboard with other people as well. So you'll just drop their email in here and you can choose, if you want them to be able to edit, or maybe you just want them to do it in a view only mode so they can look at the info, but they can't change anything. And you can add a little message with that as well. So that's pretty handy. Some other options you have up here, this export. As I mentioned earlier, you can export this to an image. So you have 2 options for exports. You can do an image export, where you can either do a high or a standard resolution. So if it's a really, really big whiteboard, you can go ahead and I would do the high resolution because you want to make sure everything's readable. If it's a smaller one and you just want to send it in quick email, just do the lower resolution. The other option for export you can do a full export with the HTML and JSON files. Basically, what that means is it's going to export all of the little links and bits inside of it. So somebody else can open that zip file using their own Microsoft Whiteboard application outside of Teams if they want to do that. A couple other options you have here. So the collaborative cursors, when you enable that, basically you'll see as multiple people are in here working, each person will have their initials next to their cursor, and you'll see all the different cursors moving around the screen at the same time. So it'll look kind of similar to, you'll see the person's initials right next to their cursor as they're moving around. So you can see exactly who's working on what in real time. You can also show authors. So what that's going to do is every time somebody adds a note or a comment, it'll show who did it. So that's enabled on this one. So that's why you can see my initials there. So if we do something like that and we disable that, then stuff like that would start to disappear. Again, since I'm the only one who's added stuff to this, it's all just my name. But if you had multiple people, that's what that would control. And you can choose whether or not you want people to edit. So maybe if you're teaching a class and you're strictly presenting this, you don't want other people messing with it, and you are doing it for presentation purpose only, you can disable editing for other users, and only you are going to be able to edit this. Background options. You can choose to make it a colored background. So you got a couple different options there. You can also add grid patterns. So for example, if we're doing maybe some kind of engineering or something like that, we can do like a graph paper background. And then we can use that. And then if we go back and we're drawing with our lines and stuff and go and do that. Lots of different options for different things. You can do wide rule, kind of like notebook paper. And that way you can do your text on there. And then it's basically just like a paper notebook at this point, and do all your little doodles and sticky notes, and everyone can add what they need to add. So again, there's more. I could talk quite a bit more about Whiteboard and all the different things it does. Again, it is a standalone application outside of Teams, so you can get to it outside of your meetings. So for the sake of time, I will kind of cut myself short there. So there's one more thing I want to show you with the Whiteboard feature, as it does exist outside of the meeting. So let's minimize this meeting here, and we'll go back to my calendar here. So if we go back to the chat for this demo meeting, and we go to the recap, so imagine we've left the meeting, you can see the content, the demo meeting whiteboards are here. So if I click on this after the meeting is ended, it'll open up in my web browser. Takes a second for it just to load up here. And look, there it is. There's our whiteboard that we were just working on exactly as we left it. So now we can see that I'm outside of the Teams meeting. You can see I'm in my Microsoft Edge web browser here, so I'm not even in Teams anymore, and I'm still able to work on it and edit it and put different things in here. I got the same toolbar down here at the bottom. So you can continue to add stuff even outside of your meeting. So maybe you make a few changes over the week and you have a weekly meeting, you make your changes, and then everyone can review them once they get back into the meeting environment. So if we go back to our demo meeting here, we can see that the stuff I just added from the web browser has popped up. And there is my cursor from this other session that I have open in the web browser. So we can see everything happening in live time from different places. So again, very collaborative tool, has lots of neat features. So let me jump off of the topic of whiteboard here before we get too close to running out of times, and let's review our Teams coach and our transcription. So I'm sure as you can see and have been following on the right-hand side, this has been transcribing the entire time I've been talking. So this is going to be quite a long transcription here. So let's go ahead and let's leave the meeting. So let's imagine that that meeting has concluded. And again, back in the chat here, we've got our demo meeting chat. And now we have the transcript. So there's a couple ways you can get to it. You can either open it here in the chat, or you can go to the recap tab, transcript, and there it is. So here's the entire transcript for everything that I've said for the last 30 minutes. And if you want, you can download that as a Word file, and then you can send it an email to, if you want to send it out as a recap to everyone who was in the meeting, or maybe somebody was not able to make it to the meeting, you can send that to them. Whatever you need to do to it, put it in your archives. That way you've got it, and you know exactly what was said and by who. Again, I've been the only one talking, so it's just one really long block of my talking. But when you have people going back and forth, it'll show all the different names associated with each of their talking points. So that's how the transcription works. Super easy feature to use. Really handy for going back and seeing exactly what was said. Because I know a lot of times I myself, I often forget to take very good notes when I'm in the middle of talking in meetings. So this is really handy to have. Now, if you go to turn this on in your Teams and you see that the option to enable transcription is grayed out, that may be because your administration for your Teams accounts has chosen to disable that feature. Depending on the policies of some organizations, there are various reasons why that option is disabled, or it may just be disabled just by mistake. So if you do want to use that and you see it's grayed out, just contact your IT department and ask if that's a feature that you would be able to use, and they may be able to enable that for you. But again, some companies do have policies in place that don't want that in the meetings. So let's go ahead and jump over to the last part here, and that's going to be the speaker coach. So here we have the full recap of the last 30 minutes of me talking in this demo meeting. It went for 25 minutes, 52 seconds, and there were 69 suggestions it had for me. So let's take a look and see what I did. So it said I used repetitive language 57 times. So I think I need to work on that. So I used the word maybe 33 and really 24, which I am aware I do tend to do that. So that's something I need to work on. Filler words, only 5 and 25 minutes. I'll take that. That's not too bad. Basically, I do use the basically a lot. Pace, only 3 flags for that, and I think some of those were in the beginning when we were intentionally trying to make it flag us, so that's pretty good as well. Only 3 of those. 2 intonations. And the nice thing is it shows us in the timeline, so if you combine this with the transcript, you can say, hey, this one happened, at exactly this time, so I can go back and look at the transcript and say, oh yeah, that's when I was talking about that. And that's something you can use to go back and try and make yourself better for the next time. Monologue. I'm the only one in this meeting, so I would expect that it would be one long monologue because there's nobody else in there. The last one, inclusive language, I got a green on that one. There's no flags for that one, so I didn't say anything mean to myself in my one-person meeting, so that is good that I did not do that. So this is how the speaker coach can help. Again, If you make a habit of using this regularly and you consciously make an effort to write down, maybe put a little note on your computer monitor to say, don't say maybe. And you can try and do that and make sure you don't fill it in with filler words or those repeating that same phrase over and over and over. So let's about wrap it up. I know we're getting close to our 45-minute mark here, so I'm going to stop my screen share. We'll jump over into Q&A and we'll answer any questions that you may have. So let me jump this over here. All right, Mallory, did we have any questions come through in the Q&A section?
We don't have any questions. If you have any questions at all, please use the Q&A section at the bottom of your screen.
It must just mean I'm so good at teaching and presenting this stuff. I've answered all the questions before they could even be thought of. Give it just a minute here, see if anyone has any questions, and then we'll jump into concluding here. So it's definitely interesting with these. This team speaker coach is a really cool one that I started really playing around with recently. The repetitive language has always been kind of a catch for me. I know I've done that for a very long time. I remember in high school we had a speech teacher who would be very sad to see that I repeat myself that often. So it's kind of very neat to have that team's coach there to help correct those things. All right. Still no questions, Mallory?
Nope, no questions.
All right, perfect. Well, thank you everyone for attending. I just want to throw out there, we are on most of the social medias. So there's a lot of stuff on our YouTube channel, including this webinar will be posted to there. So if you want to rewatch it or you want to recommend it to anyone else, you can come back and look at that on our YouTube channel. There's also a whole bunch of other little quick tech tips and all of our past webinars on there as well. Let's see. Oh, did we have one come through? Perfect. Yep. You're welcome, Stephanie. All right. Well, that concludes this month's webinar. We will see you all next time. Thank you. Have a good rest of your day.